So again, welcome to all of you who are just popping in. So glad that we are taking this time together. As the church, of course, we are concerned about meeting our neighbors, and this marketing lunch and learn is an important opportunity for us to discuss that a little bit more. It's a tenet of our faith, in fact, interacting with our neighbors. We also hear this in the second mark of mission. We are called to teach, baptize, and nurture new believers. So as we're continuing to emerge from pandemic and continuing to navigate these rapid times of change in terms of technology and culture, we need to be more creative than ever and curious about making important connections with our neighbors. And of course, Advent and Christmas are around the corner, and this provides the church with an opportunity for welcome and outreach. This is why I have invited you to be a part of this 3-part marketing lunch and learn series. And I thank you for taking the time out of your lunch hour to be here with us. And I especially thank today Jen DeTracey, who is our presenter. So Jen, of course, is a friend of mine, and she has been a longtime member of the Supper Club community. So for many years now, she's been online again. She's brought her wisdom and expertise and is a good friend of the Anglican Diocese of Montreal. She's coached me personally, and I have received enormous personal and professional benefits from the session. So Jen DeTracey works with leaders who want to discover missing opportunities for strategic growth, and she does this through her Elevate Results coaching program and her proven marketing process, the LIFT process. So welcome, Jen DeTracey. I will mute myself, and I'm here to support in any way I can for the rest of this session.
Thank you so much, Leanne. And it is a joy to be here today. Thank you for showing up, because this is about you. You're setting aside time on your lunch to learn, and I am excited for what will unfold today for you. Yesterday evening, after I had prepped for this session, I was getting ready to take my bike out just for a little bit of a ride. And I had this song in my head, and it's a song that just comes to me randomly. And it's the song that I'm sure many of you have heard of, This Little Light of Mine. I'm going to make it shine. And I'm not going to sing it for you because I don't have the voice of Leanne. So it was really calling me. And I was reflecting about how today that's why we're here. We're here to bring our light to shine. And the journey that I'm going to take you on today is about shining that light of yours, of each of yours. And we are going to look at, during this lunch and learn, your why and tap into that. And this is a process that I have, as Leanne said, she's gone through this, and Alex and I have been working behind the scenes to do this process too. So he will be coming on later to demonstrate, which I'm super excited about. Thank you, Alex. Is to really just trust yourself around the process with the answers that come to you, and let that come naturally and organically to you. When we look at your why, we're really looking at the values that you hold in yourself. And it's interesting because there's a difference between values and beliefs. And from a science perspective, beliefs are the thinking that we have about stuff that we think about over and over again. And that thinking forms beliefs. And values are in the core. They're in your soul, your connection with God and yourself. And this is what we're looking at today, because when you tap into those values, you will have clarity on your why, or it will become more clear. So I invite you now, as we transition into this session, if we can just take a moment to just do maybe a minute or two of grounding, just coming into presence. You can call it what you want, prayer, just being fully in this moment. So I invite you, if you'd like to, you can close your eyes. I like to do that. And just take a nice deep breath in all the way down to your belly, and hold it there for a second, and then breathe out through your mouth. Just Just inviting you to do another one of those. And noticing the weight of your body on the chair and just really feeling that. If you have a backing to your chair, just feeling your back there on the chair. And noticing your feet, if they're not on the ground and it's possible, I invite you to put your feet on the ground and feel the ground beneath you. And just be there for a moment with that. And I'm inviting you to set an intention for yourself today. And just trust what comes to you in this moment. This is your time. So just take a moment, set an intention for today for yourself. Take another breath. Just wiggle your toes, maybe your fingers, and just come back here to this moment. So here's what you need today before we get started on guiding you through this process. You need a piece of paper. I like to have more than one because I make a lot of messing up stuff. So 8.5 by 11 is great. Better to work on it this way than up and down. You'll see why in a few minutes. A pen or pencil, depending on if you're like a person that's a perfectionist and you want to erase things, then you might use a pencil. If you don't mind scratching things out with a pen, then do that. And then choose one color. Could be a marker, it could be a colored pen or pencil crayon, anything, like something that has color, a color that is one of your favorite colors. And you won't need that right away. So if it's not like close at hand, you'll have time to grab one of those. So what I'd like to do first when we're talking about values is give you some examples of values based on other clients I've worked with. So I've taken a lot of leaders through this process. Some are small business owners, some are leaders in different areas of their life. And for yourself as clergy, as layperson leaders, layperson employees, layperson volunteers, whoever you are today, you're in the right place. So let me bring up the example of values to give you a sense of where we're going here today. So these values are just a list to give you some context in case you might be in a place where I don't know what Jen's talking about. I've had clients that have at some place in time chosen different values. We've got a whole list, and I'll bring this up later in case you need to reference it, but things like resilience, freedom, growth, impact, collaboration, passion, innovation, creativity, abundance, fulfillment, loyalty, contribution, support, collaboration, inclusion, balance, fun, accessibility, honesty, respect, innovation, integrity, vision, inspiration, joy, trust, accountability, kindness, celebration, and commitment. And that's just a few. So when you're on this journey and when Alex and I take you through the beginning of the process, you'll see that Alex has different words that he's created for himself that maybe, you say to yourself, I don't really know how to say this, then just put it down as it comes to your mind. This is not about perfection. This is a creative time. Let's have some fun with this and just see where it goes. It's an adventure. We're explorers and we're just tapping into parts of our brain that maybe we haven't really tapped into today or at some point in the last couple of days. And this is where we're going to go. So let's type in the chat here. Everybody, if you just go down to the chat, just say, I'm ready. You're ready to get going? Just put in there, I'm ready. Let's see some, I'm ready. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, love it. All right, ready, I'm ready. Excellent, okay. Just get that energy.
Ready.
Okay, can do it verbally too. That's great. Love that. Thank you. So one thing I want to show you first is I want you to take your paper and I'm going to get you to draw a wheel on your paper. Now you can see here, I'm a messy drawer. So I'm going to actually show you a picture that looks a little tidier. Let me just bring this up on the screen to share here for a moment. Okay, there we go. Okay. So you want to have some room on this side of your paper to write down some values, just maybe in one of the corners. You're going to be using this space while we go through this process. So just take a moment to draw that out. It's like a pizza pie. So just a circle with a line down and across and through. And as you can see, mine is in no way perfect. And I love that about it. Okay. And while you're doing that, I'm going to bring up an example of Alex. Alex is like, he's flowing with me. He doesn't know exactly where I'm going here yet. What we're going to do is, it's all right with you, Alex. I'm just going to bring up, to start, just to give an example, a list of some of the values that you came up with. So we'll just bring that up first. Okay, cool. Thank you. Let me just find that here for a moment. Okay, and this isn't the comprehensive list, but so when Alex and I met last Friday, Alex made a list of values. There was more on the list than this, but in the end, these were the 8 that he's chosen. You can see on the wheel with the circle that there's 8 spots. And sometimes there will be something that ties together. Like maybe he had creativity and fun, and he decided, okay, I can put those together. Those are a good fit. Work-life balance, that kind of thing. So what I'd like you to do is I will bring back up the comprehensive list, and I'd like you to think about just make a list of the values that stand out the most for you in terms of your work as a leader, in terms of what resonates with you in your life. So let me bring up the big list just as a support for you. And what I'd like to do, Leanne, is just take maybe 5 minutes. If people are done earlier, you can just put done in the chat, and then we can move on to the next step. Just a moment here. I'm just looking to share that comprehensive list. Okay. So just take 5 minutes to think about values that are most important to you, and know that when Alex and I come back together and talk about this process, you may have changes about what you want on your list or other ideas. So just start from now. We'll just have some music going and chill out for a few minutes and see where you get. And when you've got that done, you can put done in the chat.
Sorry, are we putting these in the pie slices? Or just
Actually,
on the side,
right now, that's a great question. What you're doing right now, Mark, is you're just going to take your paper and you have your circle here. You're just going to write them in the corner on the side, because we're not sure what ones you might pick. So just brainstorm as many values that resonate with you as possible in your work as a leader, or for those of you that are volunteering or lay leaders or volunteers, that kind of thing, or employees, lay employees. How's that music coming along, Leanne? And know that as you're going through this process that, we really have parts of ourselves where there may be overlap in our personal life versus what we're doing as leaders. Don't worry about that. Usually when I'm running this program one-on-one with individuals, we do the career and work and the leadership part first, and then we look at the other part. So today we're really looking more at the leadership in terms of career, but there will often be overlaps in values, if that's helpful to you today. So how are we doing? If you're done, maybe you can put a message in the chat just saying you're done your list so we can kind of monitor where we're going. Done. Oh, look at all these dones. Okay. Excellent. Okay. So is there anyone that needs just a little bit more time? Or are we good? Thumbs up? For good?
D-O-N-E. Done.
Perfect. Okay. So let's move on to the next part of this. So what I'm going to do now is we'll bring up Alex's wheel from when Alex and I were working together last week, and we're going to have a conversation about it. Just pull that up for a moment here. Okay. And I'm wondering, Leanne, can you pin in Alex and I just so we can see each other here? Can everybody see the wheel on the screen? You see the share there? Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
Sorry, Jen, what would you like me to do?
Can you pin Alex and I just so that we're showing up here on the screen? Just so I can see Alex while I'm talking. Okay, well, we'll get going on this. Hey, Alex.
Hello.
So this is Alex Griffin. Do you want to just say which church you work at and what you do? And then we'll jump into your wheel.
Of course. Hi, I'm Alex Griffin. I work for Christchurch Cathedral as the Communications Development Coordinator.
Great. Thank you. And thank you for being on this journey with us today and last week. That's fantastic. So what I was thinking is, and all of you, as you look at your values, if you want, you can start putting them on the wheel. It may be helpful for you to hear a little bit about Alex's process, might give you some insights. So Alex, I'm thinking that maybe we could start with one value and you could explain your why behind it, and we'll move around the wheel. Maybe we won't do them all, but we'll just kind of touch base on some of them and just as to why you chose those. So where would you like to start?
Sure. Why don't we start with people first? Because honestly, I think that encompasses all of the why of what I do. And I thought about the wording, and I think, having a week to think about it, maybe I might word it instead as empathetic communication. But I think that still provides us with this sort of approach. Because the point of people first is when I, as a communicator, am reaching out in marketing, my goal is not just to be sort of shouting into the void, but is to be putting myself into the shoes of the people who are going to be receiving the message that I'm trying to communicate and thinking about how I can make it the most easy and enjoyable of an experience for them to receive that communication.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And so I want everyone to look at their list and think about which one on that list and what that why might be for you. We'll come back and we can talk about that as a group later, but just really look at your list now and think about which, maybe even the first one on your list, what's your why there in your mind? Just think about that. Alex, what's another one you would like to unpack here?
Sure, I would unpack how about we unpack accessibility? So that does tie in with inclusion. Accessibility is first and foremost about making sure that people with various disabilities can be included in our communities, and that includes in our communications. And I mean, sometimes that looks like simple things like running a graphic that I've created through a colorblind tester to make sure that it's still viewable, or adjusting, making sure that all the core information is also included in the text of a post rather than only being accessible via an image, so that if somebody's using a screen reader because they're vision impaired, that they're still able to read it.
Those are great examples. So let me ask you, okay, that's what you do. What is your personal why around accessibility? Why is that important to you, Alex?
It's important to me because inclusion is important to me, and also because I know and love many people with disabilities, and I've seen the ways in which the church in particular has often failed to be a space of welcome to disabled individuals.
Right. So then that impacts you personally. So you really feel that strongly. Yeah. And what's one more that you'd like to pick here on the wheel that really has a big why for you?
I would talk about discipleship. I would say, so this is thinking about, in my work, how does communication reach people, not just with marketing, but with the good news? That's important to me because I feel like ultimately what I'm called to do, in whatever manner I'm doing it, is about sharing the good news of God's love for the world in Christ. And so when I engage in my work, I try to ask that question of how are my communications sharing that good news and not just saying, hey, show up to this event at that time.
So why is the good news, sharing that good news, important to you? What's your why around that, Alex?
I mean, it's kind of ineffable, but I would say that the good news has changed my life over and over and over again. And I want every person to experience that kind of transformative love of God.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you for that. So we'll come back to this wheel again. I'll just go back to the group now. So just checking in with you all. You have your wheel drawn. Have you had a chance to start to pick the places on the wheel that you would like to put the values on? How's that going for you? Someone like to? Carolyn, just checking in with you. How's that going at your end?
Well, it just worked out that I had like 8 that really spoke to me. So they all have a piece of the pie. I don't know if there's a logical working mechanism with the pie, but to me, they're all important values. There's not one that's more important than another.
Okay. Can you, and yes, there's no logical way. Where you put it is exactly where it's supposed to go on the pie. So great point to that. And so if you can tell me, what's one of the ones that you picked, Carolyn?
I can sure tell you that. Sure. Fulfillment.
Fulfillment. And why is that important to you?
It's very important to me in my work, in my volunteering, in my life. If I don't feel fulfillment in what I'm doing, I don't do a great job. I'm not inspired. It just doesn't work.
So, Carolyn, when you do a good job, what's even more important than that?
A sense of balance in my life, a sense of doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, but yeah, that's how it works for me.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see who else would like to share a value and their why around it. I'm just going to randomly pick somebody and see if they'll say yes. Mark.
Okay. The inspiration is one that I picked, and probably the first one I put on the wheel. So just in the sense of if I guess if I had to choose one word amongst them as to why I feel moved to actually sort of be a communicator for my parish or causes. It's in an attempt to inspire other people to engage.
And when you, Mark, inspire other people to engage, what's even more important than that for you?
Not sure.
Well, just suppose you took a moment and just let that come to you. What might show up there in that question for you? When people are engaged, what's important about that for you?
Sorry.
Huh?
Sorry, I'm not.
What does it bring you when other people are engaged? What does that bring to you?
I think you better go on to somebody else.
Okay, well, just let us know if you have a thought on that. Okay. Who would like to go next? I'm wondering, Debbie, you're shining at me. Would you like to, I'll ask you to unmute yourself? Yeah.
I think there are two Debbies, but I'm
Okay,
willing to
well, I'm
go.
looking at you, so you must have known that. There you go.
Okay. I'm not sure that this was on your comprehensive list, but I had relationships and community, and I've kind of combined them on my wheel into relationships/community. So I hope that's okay to go off list.
You can do whatever you want on your wheel. That's the beauty, because it's yours. You're creating it. So I'm curious about what is important to you. Like, why is it important to have that community and relationships on your list, on your wheel? What's the value for
Right.
you around that?
Well, our whole faith is built on relationships and community. And so then at every level of as believers and as followers and disciples, I think we need to model community, and also that's how we accomplish and that's how we move forward. I find is when we're together in community and through building relationships within the church, within the community, all mixed up together.
I love how you really own that in in your last sentence there. That's why I can really feel that, your why in that when you're speaking from that place of I. Thank you for sharing. Who else would like to share? One more share for today. Okay, Peter, over to you.
Sure, I could share a little bit.
Thank you.
I had trouble picking just which ones to use to do, and so I'll choose creative as one of the ones that I had to include on there. Though I couldn't help but just link it with fun, and and opposed to it on the wheel is also joyful, which they're all linked. And to say why I had to just say creative right off the bat is because I had to immediately break the wheel and just put right in the center of it, Christ-centered, as the description for all of these things that I was feeling is how we are engaging.
Beautiful.
Because I was like, where do I put that? And I was like, okay, I have to just put it in the center.
So talk to me about the why of creativity, and you put fun beside it, right?
Yeah, or I'll put it, exactly.
Nearby. Okay. So why is creativity important to you personally?
Well, as somebody I'm a musician as well as what's one of my callings, and that is always being creative with how we express ourselves, and everybody has gifts, and seeing how everybody does them, it expresses these things and communicates is one of the great joys of my life. And I love connecting and seeing how people connect with each other in such diverse ways. And so that's why that's important to me.
Yeah, so that really brings out the joy for you, and I can hear that in the way that you're speaking and the laugh that you shared around that. So thank you. Okay, so let's go back to the wheel. I'll just find the next step here. And Alex, I'm going to be leaning on you again, my friend,
Great.
as part of this process. So let me just bring this up here again. So based on Peter, what you were saying, and maybe many others, you might have two words together. Alex has creativity and fun together. So it's okay to have words together. The question is, you ask yourself, is there some kind of alignment with those two words? And it sounds like you already, many of you are recognizing that there is. So the next step in the process, and I'm going to go through this with Alex, and as I do this, you can do it on your own wheel too. I'm just going to bring up the tool that I need to make it possible. So this is the next step in the process. And thank you so much for all of you for sharing. It just makes for such a rich conversation when we can learn from others, from their experiences. And I really appreciate that. Okay, here we go. So Alex, what we're going to do, and I'm not using your old wheel, you're just going to put them on as we do here today. What we do call scaling for everyone. And we're not scaling how well you're doing this in each of these areas. There's a no judgment zone here. What we're doing is we're scaling your level of satisfaction. So from 1 to 10, so 1 being low and 10 being fully and completely satisfied in that value in your life, within your leadership, your career, your role around what you're giving and doing. So where would you like to get started on the wheel, Alex, as we go around here?
Why don't we just start at the top?
Okay. So accessibility?
I would say my satisfaction is about an 8 in accessibility.
Okay, so we'll just go around. So what we're doing is 8 is 1 is low and 10 is fully satisfied, just to repeat for everyone. Okay, making things look good.
I would put that at a 9 today.
9 today. Exactly. Do you hear what Alex said? Today he's going to put it at a 9. Maybe yesterday it wasn't a 9. Discipleship.
I would put that at an 8.
An 8. Okay, we'll come back and ask some questions. People first, and you had another name for that. You can say that again if you want.
Empathetic communication.
Okay, I'm just not going to type it on now, just in case I make a mistake there. So 1 being low and 10 being fully satisfied.
I would put that at a 6.
6. Okay. Creativity and fun.
6.
6. Okay. Growing and skills, Alex.
I would put that at maybe a 4 at the moment.
4. Okay. Inclusion?
7.
7. Got it. And work-life balance?
6.
6. Okay. So let's just talk about this for a moment. So I'm just inviting everybody to put their numbers on the wheel. And as you're doing that, I'm going to showcase the next step of the process where you get to see my great artistic abilities, not around this. So as you look at each of these, what we're going to do first is we're going to put a circle around each of these numbers. And that is just to say, in this moment, that's what it is. It's just like that. It's just kind of rounding it out, acknowledging it. So you can just put little circles around your numbers. Your levels of satisfaction on your wheel. Knowing that this can change and go up and down depending on the day, the hour, the month, the week. What we're doing is we're creating awareness and intention by going through this process. And the next step of it is that what we're going to do is we are going to indicate on the wheel visibly where you're at. So Alex, I believe I know your color, but tell everybody what your favorite color is, because I want them to use their favorite color when they're doing this part of the exercise.
My favorite color is green.
Green. Okay, I got it right. So what we're going to do is we're looking at the wheel. If you look at it as a scale, 1 would be just down here near the bottom, and 10 is around the edge. So feeling fully and completely satisfied. So on accessibility, for example, if that's an 8, and these are not going to be perfect at my end, and I don't expect that from any of you. I might have to move this up a little bit. I'm just going to put these on the wheel to indicate where they are today. So we've got that as a 9. And I'm sure if Alex was doing this, it would be even better. We're giving ourselves...
Oh, I'm not good at Microsoft Paint.
Okay. So we've got a 6 here. Got another 6. It's easier to do this when you're drawing it out. It's faster than doing it on Zoom. Okay, we've got a 4 here. 7. And a 6. Okay. So, all right. And then once you've got that, then you can take a look at your wheel and you can see, if this wheel was rolling down a hill or rolling across a road, how would it be moving? Like, what do you notice when you look at it? And Alex, I'm just curious, when you look at this wheel now that you've not only put the numbers in, but we've got the bars in place, what is it that you notice? What comes to mind right away for you?
I'm noticing that growth is one of the spaces that I need the most to change in. And similarly, I'm noticing that I'm very satisfied this week in sort of aesthetics based on what I've done this week.
Okay, great. So noticing, we'll just put down here, noticing that, so growth, area you want to work on, and aesthetics.
Yeah.
Is an area that you feel satisfied.
Yeah.
Okay. So just inviting all of you to notice on your wheel, just whatever you notice. It could be something completely different to what Alex notices. And as part of this process, before we kind of jump into the next step, what we're going to do is we're going to color in each of these spaces. So on the wheel, let me just see if I can do this with a pen or something. And this is, again, sorry, Alex, it's not going to look so beautiful, but you know.
That is A-okay. I'm telling you that nobody is good at making things look pretty on Adobe or Microsoft Paint or whatever this is.
Okay, and even on paper for me. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take your favorite color and color in every single area, just so you can look at it even more closely, right? So I'm just going to do part of Alex's wheel. I'm not going to do the whole thing. I just, on your end, with whatever you've got, go ahead and do that. And while you're doing that, I'm going to carry on this conversation with Alex. And when you color them in, it can show you more clearly, how things are looking on your wheel. So Alex, you mentioned, and here's the question I want to throw out to everyone. But before I do, I just want to check in with all of you. I'm just going to see if I can bring up everyone again here for a sec. How are we doing? Everybody doing all right? Just a thumbs up on getting, okay, nodding's good too. Love that. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. So what we're going to do next is ask the question here. If you were to look at your wheel once you have it colored in, we'll start with one. What is one area on your wheel? Could be any of the areas. It doesn't matter what the level of satisfaction is. It's just what you're called to do. Which area would, if you were to increase it by like satisfaction by 1 or maybe even 2 levels. So let's say you're at a 4, like Alex is in terms of growth in this moment. If Alex was to increase that by a couple, or if it was discipleship that's at an 8, you want to increase to a 9, and on your wheel, which one would have a ripple effect on most of the other areas on the wheel? So that is the question. So which value on this wheel, if you were to increase your satisfaction level, would increase other areas potentially on the wheel as well? So Alex, for you in this moment, what might that be for you?
I would say, so when we met last week, I said that work-life balance would have the biggest impact on everything. And I would say that it's the same this week, that if I could improve my work-life balance, I would have more mental energy for all of the other things on the wheel.
Got it. Okay. And if you were to do that, let me just see if I can find the little tool here that I had before. I wanted to put like here we go. Would you like to put by work-life balance a star or a heart?
A star.
Okay, let's put that star there. Okay, so put a star here. So, okay, so if you could move up that scale by 1 or 2 in work-life balance to increase your satisfaction, how would that have an impact on other things on the wheel out of curiosity?
So, for example, if I had better work-life balance, creativity and the fun that comes with that would increase pretty dramatically, because I would, you can't be that creative while you're stressed. And an improvement in creativity would lead to an improvement in aesthetics as well as in people first and accessible communication, because those things require creative solutions. Same thing with discipleship.
Okay, so really it ripples into a lot of different areas.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm hearing you say. Okay, so let's put down accessible. Okay, let's do it like that. Okay, so, and I know we chatted about this last week, so maybe you can tell me, you had an action that you were going to focus on, and I'm wondering how that went. So can you tell everyone what that action was and how you're doing with that?
Yeah, so my action was that on Tuesday, so one day a week that I wasn't already, I was going to completely disconnect from work at 6:30. And
how were you going to do that?
Sorry?
How are you going to do that?
Well, I was going to, turn off my computer, or at least turn off all the work things on my computer, because of course, if you're also using your computer for Netflix, that's not the same. And I think it was about 6:31 that I managed to close all of the work tabs on my computer and open up some Netflix. And it was pretty successful. Like, I think that I'm 1 point more satisfied in my work-life balance than I was last week. And I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah. So who are you becoming as you make that commitment to yourself to give yourself more work-life balance by taking this action?
I think I'm becoming a more, I guess, maybe well-rounded person, or a more whole person rather than a stressed out work machine.
Okay, so a more of a whole person.
Mhm.
Okay. And when you're becoming more of a whole person, what's possible for you then, Alex?
Well, I can, like, in terms of work or in terms of life or generally?
Well, let's just say that you can answer that any way you want.
So I can have space for a little more creativity in areas that aren't work as well. Like, I can have time to make myself an exciting dinner, or I don't know, doodle for fun instead of only drawing things for work.
Ah, great. Thank you for sharing. That's really I'm excited that you follow through with that commitment for yourself and that you're really noticing the benefits of that. So I'd like to just suggest before we continue, if you like, either to sit in your chair and just have a little stretch, or if you feel like standing up for a sec and just moving your body, whatever works for you. I like to just move around just a little bit here because we're sitting, and that can be for a long time. And I'm wondering, as we have explored this process, I'm curious if we could go to someone else here that would like to share, now that you've got your wheel colored in and your priorities. First of all, what you noticed before we go to like looking at key areas. Who would be a person that would be willing to take that step forward and just share? Ah, yes, Erica. Hi, Erica.
Hi. I wanted to share that the first value I thought of was also the one I was most satisfied with. And I don't think that's an accident. That I'm. Oh, sorry. My child is in the kitchen cupboard.
No problem.
Child-centered learning. I'm an educator. I'm in children's ministry, and I have 2 small children of my own. And child-centered learning was the value I thought of first, because that's how I spend 24 hours a day. And I'm doing it all the time. I'm thinking about it all the time. And I also feel pretty good about the way I'm doing it right now. So I just thought that, like, the things I'm doing less well were things I had a harder time thinking of as values.
Ah, well, thank you very much, Erica, for sharing that. Appreciate it. Who else would like to share? Margaret, I'm wondering if you'd be willing to share with us. We need to unmute you there. There you go. Yeah.
I'm just sort of jotting things down because I found that a lot of the categories overlapped. You know, things like honesty and integrity, people first, and collaboration. I found there was a very long list that I went through, and for example, I put creativity with fun, and I also added a sense of humor, because I find that we need a sense of humor, and there's too many people who don't have a sense of humor.
Let me ask you this, Margaret. So in that creativity, fun, and humor, why is that important to you personally?
Well, because I think if you're enjoying what you're doing, people collaborate more than if they're having something imposed on them. And I think the thing that I struggle with most within the church that I am is probably vision of where are we going and how are we getting there and what are we doing in order to get where we don't yet know where we're going.
So when you did your wheel and you colored things in, what did you discover? What was an area where you felt that there could be an improved level of satisfaction that really stood out for you that could have a ripple effect on the other areas out of curiosity?
Probably vision.
Vision, yeah. And so if you were to take one step towards increasing your level of satisfaction in the vision, knowing that that would have a ripple effect on others, what might be one little thing that you could do around that just to move it up the scale?
Well, this is probably the problem. It needs to be a collaborative effort for stuff. So all these things sort of seem to tie in together very much.
Yes, that's
working
true.
Together in order to create a vision. So, you've got lots of words and then, honestly looking at it, because it does have to be done with integrity. You could probably make up a whole paragraph seeing how many of these words you could use in order to improve a situation. So
yeah, so Margaret, just suppose that had already been done, like it already had been a collective group, right? Just for a moment, just play with me here for a sec. Because this is your wheel, and your somebody else in your church might not have satisfaction at the same level. They may not rate it the same. They may not have it on their wheel in the same place, right? But you do. And because you do, it's important to you. So why is a vision so important to you?
Well, because I lack of security, if you like, where I feel that as part of, just the demographics maybe of our parish. And so we're not a parish with, we're an aging parish, if you like. We just don't have the young people. So where do we need to go? Not necessarily to increase the number of people in church, but where do we go to build within our community so that we are visible in the community sufficiently to be able to have a vision of where we can serve our community, perhaps. It's all a bit complicated.
Well,
it's complicated in my head too.
Well, Margaret, as what I heard you say is, how do we, within our own community, build, and where do we go to make that happen? Do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay. So that's a great question. So what might be one little idea, just one potential idea? It doesn't have to be perfect. It may or may not sit or land, that comes to mind to you as like one little first step.
I know that we are planning, or somebody is planning, that we should have Lee Ann's posters at our church next year.
Like the Bible walk?
The Bible walk, yes.
Yeah,
okay. I have suggested, I have no idea what will happen or what the event will be, but I have suggested that we should offer hamburgers and hot dogs, etc., to anybody who happens to come by.
Okay, so you
and I know that has worked at the Lutheran Church not far away, St. Ansgar's, and I'm thinking, okay, so it doesn't have to cost a bundle, but we could offer anybody coming by, if they're prepared to listen and follow, because I don't know exactly how this Bible walk functions, but if we have to have an event, let's make it a community event.
So what would be the very first step, knowing you want to do that next year, the very first step to make that happen so that you can fulfill an increased level of satisfaction around vision for yourself, Margaret?
I would ask somebody who's good at organizing this kind of thing to get on and organize it. That would be my step.
All right, so let's just stick with that for a moment, if you're willing, and just say, when are you going to take that action?
Probably when the snow starts to melt, I would think, or when Leanne would like to commit to coming to our church, or coordinating with that.
Well, what if just suppose that you could find somebody now in preparation for the planning for the winter? What would be the first step to do that? Like something that you could do even within the next week to feel that you're moving up the level of satisfaction around your vision, Margaret?
Well, I think we've already, got a committed team that would be prepared to put that on, but who knows what that event will be. We need to collaborate to see if there's a better way of involving the community. That's one suggestion that we've made, but I don't know whether that is the way to go. And there may be some things that we need to talk about within the people involved to see what their line of thinking is. And so we could do that now, but hey, there's lots going on between now and the spring, so it's probably shelved until January.
Okay, so when will you be putting that on your calendar to ensure that first meeting with your group happens?
I'd have to ask those people who are making up the calendar.
Fantastic. So that sounds like that's your next action step, is to ask the people about the calendar, right?
Probably, yes.
Yeah. So if you were to do that and know that you're doing that, how does that impact your vision, knowing that you're taking a step forward? What does that change about your level of satisfaction as you start to move towards small steps?
I guess it will go up. It would go up a notch. But in the meantime, we need to be doing other things to see how we can reach out to the community.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing. And I can hear your passion and really wanting and longing to grow the community and needing the support of your committee in order to make that happen. Thanks so much. Nancy, I see you. And I'm wondering if you have something on your list when you look at it, that if you were to pick one thing that would increase and have a ripple effect in other areas, what that might be for you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So the lowest thing that I put on my pie chart was impact. So I think I need to look back and see how to measure impact better, because I do a lot of things and sometimes I'm not sure that if it's having impact. So,
well, tell me for a minute, just because I'm really curious. I understand you want to kind of measure it and have a sense of how to do that. I'm really curious about how might you, what did you put down as your satisfaction around impact, if you don't mind sharing?
6. I put it
6. Okay. What does a 6 represent to you, out of curiosity? In terms of, yeah, but what does the 6 mean? Because it's not at a 1, it's not at a 2, it's not at a 3. No, so what does a 6 represent to you in terms of?
So there are areas where I do see impact, but I guess I don't see it in everything I'm doing. Maybe that's
okay. Yeah.
Expectation, but.
So tell me some of the things where you are seeing an impact, Nancy. I'm really curious. Where are you seeing an impact that you can actually measure now?
Well, I volunteer with a family that arrived from Afghanistan, and we started to do reading on, just on Monday. I read with the daughter, and yesterday she showed me her agenda with this huge thank you for working with the girl. Her reading has really improved, and that was impact. I made an impact in her life. So.
And how does that feel to know that you
really
made
good? Because it wasn't it was something I wanted to do, so it wasn't a burden. It was something I felt like doing. Other things on my chart are honesty, integrity, respect, kindness, inclusion, collaboration. So these are all things that guided me to do that with her. And so So I did have impact there. So I guess we all like to see impact. I like to see impact. So that was a good example.
Yeah, that's an important value to you. So beautiful. So if you had more impact, what would that have a ripple effect on your wheel? What else would it impact? Out of curiosity.
Well, it would help. Well, it would, I guess it's just talking about it shows maybe I put too much impact on emphasis on impact, because it would motivate me more. I think it would give me more motivation. Although I feel I have, well, every impact, maybe I'm still riding on the impact from the story I just told you. So every time I see an impact, I feel a renewed commitment to what I work on.
And is motivation on your wheel, or is that just something you're saying is a value right now in this moment?
No, it's not on my wheel.
Yeah. So what other impact are you making? Let's just like shine a light. When you're at a 6, then there's a certain level of satisfaction. What else do you feel impact around?
Well, I also work with the Education for Ministries. So I'm a mentor for that course. Usually I'm co-mentors. So as mentor, it was a bit of a risk. I would have to take it all on my shoulders, me and the group. So it's going really well. So I feel I get positive feedback from the group. So the interaction is growing well. And it's not all on me. I see that the others are taking responsibility. So that's good impact. I think it's a course where people learn so much every week, especially when the first year ones reading the Old Testament, the Hebrew Bible. It's just shocking to many people when they start to read it, and it's a good space to do that. So I think I've had a good impact there.
Beautiful. Yeah. So if you were to increase that level of impact, now that you've shared that with me, like taking one step to increase that impact, just up maybe even 1 point on the scale to a 7, what might you be able to do that's just a small step to increase your level of satisfaction, Nancy?
I think I need to ask for feedback more to so that I'm aware of impact that I might not be unless I ask.
And who might you ask? You don't have to tell us the name, but just think of someone. Who might you ask for feedback first, just so you've got something really actionable that you can do, like really tangible?
Yeah, I can see that. I can think of a few people I could ask for feedback from.
Okay. And when are you going to do that?
Well, I'll try to do it, before now and our next meeting.
Okay. When's the next meeting? Because I don't know.
Well, between now and next week. So in a week.
Okay. All right. So we're on a Friday. So are you telling me that between now and next Friday, you're willing to commit to asking for feedback from at least 1 or 2 people?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm celebrating you for your commitment to that. And I think I really appreciate, Nancy, you giving this example around impact, because sometimes when we focus on something being lower on the scale, sometimes we need to look at, if you've got something at a 6 or even at a 4, and you might be like, you just really like to have that at a 10. I invite you to look at what you're already doing to get it to that 4, or even that 3 or that 5 or that 6, and really shine a light on that. Because I think it's important that you're able to acknowledge what you're already doing. If it's not at a 1, which is like at the lowest level of satisfaction, you're doing something, you're making an impact or whatever value that is. And that's important. And you can even go around the wheel and look at each area and acknowledge yourself for how you are, before you even increase anything, how you are living your why in areas. Even if everything was at a 3, it's okay, right? So really celebrating for that. And that's a great point to bring up. Okay, who haven't we spoken to that would like to go? I'm wondering, Deacon Jean. Just making sure you're with us.
I'm right here. I'm right here.
Awesome. Okay.
Yep.
So what value stands out for you on the wheel that you would like to, that if you increased the satisfaction level would have an impact on others, Jean?
Right. Well, it was very easy for me to put the values together, and I went very high with trust, respect, accountability, honesty, that kind of thing, loyalty. But that's basically, I mean, that's one of the facets of my ministry and I guess my work ethic and my life ethic, hopefully. But unfortunately, these things bang up against balance with some of the things that go on the rest of my life. Not that I'm wonderful, trustful, and respectful, and so on and so on. But I mean, like, I prioritize those things, and sometimes other things get in the way. I have to struggle with family issues or grandkids or so on, and struggle with the fact that my ministry and my time at the church and whatever definitely puts things out of kilter. Perhaps sometimes in both directions. Perhaps sometimes the family stuff tips over to the point where I have a problem dealing with the other side of things that I seem to feel are needing me and sometimes even cloying at me, if you will. So for me, the balance thing is extremely. It's a dance that I do quite a lot.
And so, Jean, thanks for sharing that. So is balance on your wheel, like work-life balance, is that on your wheel?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so if you're willing to, how satisfied are you in that area of work-life balance presently on your wheel, if you're okay about sharing?
Of course, yeah. I put it at a 6 because, I mean, a 6 for me is pretty low. I thought that was pretty low. I have expectations of myself to be at least with 8 or 9 on everything on that wheel. So 6 for me was really getting down there. So it's pretty low.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Jean. Just suppose you were to give yourself permission to be okay about having your work-life balance at a 6. Right now, just in this moment, what would that change for you to be okay about that?
What would that change for me? That would put me into a real dilemma. I think I struggle. It's a struggle for me. It really is. Trying to pick and choose where I need to be and what my thoughts need to be and where my efforts need to be. So I'm not sure that giving myself permission is an easy thing for me. I think that's a struggle too.
Well, just suppose just in this very, very moment that you were able to give yourself permission to struggle with giving yourself permission, just for a moment, like just being okay about that. And as you look at the wheel and you see what area on that wheel do you feel most fully satisfied right now? We'll come back to work-life balance in a moment. Which one is at the highest for you in satisfaction?
I put down honesty.
Honesty. Okay. And why is honesty important to you as a value?
Because it's really incredibly important for me. And it's an achievement I think that I've had over lots and lots and lots and lots of life lessons, that what you see is what you get. That I'm the real deal, that I'm the honest person, both to myself and to my family and to my community.
Right. So you are the real deal, and that's really important to you. And what do you have yourself down there at in terms of honesty on your satisfaction? 9. Okay. And how does it feel like when you step into that 9 in your body? Tell me how that feels to know that you're almost fully and completely there. You're very close. How does that feel for you?
I feel that's really important for me. It's an achievement. It's been an uphill struggle to come to grips with who I am and what I am and where I am, and to be able to deal with other people and to be sure to let them see that's that they're getting the real deal. I don't quite know how to explain it. Other than that, it's very important to me to be true to others and to myself. I can't say that I achieve it all the time, but I certainly try to work at it.
Okay, I want to grab something that you said there. That's just thank you for sharing. Is it's important to you to be true to yourself and others. So I want to go back to work-life balance for a moment. And if you are being honest and true to yourself, what is one step that you could take in this place of honesty and truth that you'd like to commit to increase your level of work-life balance? It's one thing. What might that be for you?
Oh my goodness.
And take your time with that. You just take a breath. And...
You know what immediately came into my brain, and just it was like a lightning bolt went off, was to delegate sometimes to others and to pass some of that responsibility, and to maybe even to ease my expectations of sometimes that people are in the same dance as I am, and that we're all holding hands together.
Yeah. So knowing they're in the same dance and holding hands together and to offload. So we're, today's all about action, right? In this. So if you think of one thing that you could delegate to somebody in the next couple of days, right, what might that be? It can be the smallest of things. What step are you going to take there?
Step am I going to take?
By staying true to yourself and being honest. Yeah.
I've taken on a fairly large commitment in our parish, and it's taking control of the social activities that we're doing, which is really not my strong point, but I really felt that somebody had to step in and take the leadership. So maybe if I was to do that, I might share that responsibility or offload some of that responsibility on somebody else, because it certainly has lots of consequences. Because then my values start bumping up into other people, and I start telling them what to do, as opposed to allowing them to perhaps find out what to do on their own.
Okay. So notice that you really want people to find out what to do on their own, but sometimes you bump up against that. So pick one person and one action. So we can walk away here today with one clear step forward. What's that going to be? Because still we're not getting specific, right? Yeah. So let's get really specific. Who is it going to be, and what's the ask going to be?
I'm not sure who the person would be, but the ask would be that they would take on that responsibility and make sure that that action was taken care of, that the responsibility of this social activity that we have coming up in terms of the number of people and the money involved maybe could be handled by somebody else as opposed to me.
Got it. Okay. So if you had a first step to that, would what, sometimes that might be making a list of the possible people. Like, what is that? The one action you're going to take, what exactly is that going to be? Just dialing back into that for one moment, if we may.
I think it's to be honest and to share with the other person, to say, listen, I think I've overextended myself here a bit. It's causing me grief and making me angry that other people are not meeting my standards. So would you mind very much just stepping into this and taking this on, because I think it'll be easier on everybody. I don't want to say something that I don't mean to say to somebody and be unpleasant about it. The job has to be done. It has to be done correctly. Would you be kind enough to be able to look at how you might want to handle this, and let's get it done properly?
Okay, thank you, Jean. And when will you take that action of having that conversation?
We're having a little meeting about exactly these kinds of things on Sunday morning. So my time limit is ticking on quickly here.
Okay, beautiful. So let me ask you this last question. So now that you have a plan of action for a first step, let's go back to work-life balance and look at how satisfied are you now? Like, what's changed knowing that you have a plan of action to move forward in an area that's really important to you?
I feel some relief. I feel pleased that there's an action plan. I don't feel stressed that I can deal with it. I think I'm quite capable of being able to find somebody and to explain that correctly and logically and easily. And I think it was my own problem more than theirs that I didn't do it in the first place. So I tend to do that, take on more and then perhaps complain that I've got it. So
Well, thank you. Thank you for being part of this conversation. I appreciate that. Now, I noticed that Marilyn has shown her beautiful face here, and I'm wondering if that means, Marilyn, that you would like to share. We probably have one more share left, and then I want to do some wrap up, and Leanne has some wrap up here. So do you want to come on off mic?
Yeah, I find the conversations that we've had to be most helpful to me in terms of trying to narrow down exactly who I am and my values. And I found that I was clustering a lot of things together in order to really say what they were. And so, and even the values, I didn't get values for them all, but I realized that the most important thing was integrity.
Integrity. Yeah. And what did you rate yourself on that scale of 1 to 10 in terms of satisfaction, Marilyn, around integrity, out of curiosity?
I would say about 8 or 9.
8 or 9. Yeah.
Because it's something that I really feel that who I am and what I stand for are apparent to everyone, that they say, yeah, we know this about her. I mean, this is who I am. And so those things that I stand for, and trust is included in that, then people can trust you because they know that that's what your values are. Like, this is who you are. And so when it comes to leadership, it's the same. Then people know when you're doing something, leading something, that's what they've got there.
Yeah, that and trust and stuff. So what is on the wheel that you rated low that we could just go into in terms of satisfaction that might have a positive impact on integrity or other areas on your wheel, out of curiosity?
I know there was something that certainly came on my mind.
What came to your mind?
I think well, I am who I am, and that means some things. I can't be all things. And sometimes I want to be some of the other things because I get known for this, about who I am. And sometimes I'm just not the other, and it's a very valuable thing. I see other people shining in it, but it's not where I am. So I can put myself down for that. So I think when we were talking about, like, there are words like impact and work-life balance and so on. It's kind of, well, that's really not it. It's just the values that I'm not. You know,
Marilyn, I'm just curious, if there was a value on your wheel that you wanted to increase the level of satisfaction for yourself, what might that be, if there's one on there? If we have time, we can just spend a minute on that if you like.
Well, I guess passion might be it.
Passion. So what did you put yourself at for satisfaction around passion?
I put that sort of like 5.
A 5. Okay. And what does a 5 represent to you, out of curiosity?
Well, it's sort of lukewarm.
Lukewarm. Okay.
Yeah.
And so what have you done over the last month that brought you, that you felt passion around?
Well, there's a program that I'm organizing that has a lot of one of my things is that I'm a spiritual director, and so we're going to start prayer circles which really comes out of the Revive program. And so there's a whole lot of my values in that. So I am passionate about that. I may not be as good at visiting people in a hospital, like that kind of compassion, but I show it through other ways, like spiritual direction. That's the sort of thing that, and so I'm really happy that we're taking a look at a way that we can put this into something that involves not just one person at a time, but the community, and that it's makes it more accessible for more people.
For sure. So what's one action that you could take to increase that passion? What's one step you could take before we wrap up with you today? So just increase that passion just a tiny, itty bit up the scale of satisfaction for you.
Well, I think I've just said it. To me, it's this program, and I'm also a person of like programs and education. It's sort of like my teacher background comes through, and so I think that's it. We'll see how it goes, and I'm kind of looking forward to that. That's all I can say. I mean, that is an increase for what I have been so far in that field.
Great. So where would you rate yourself in satisfaction after telling me that now on that scale of 1 to 10, based on this program that you're doing?
Well, it would definitely move it from the 5. It edge it up to the 7 or 8, I think.
Okay, so just notice that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So as we come back full circle here, part of the reason why it's important to do this process as part of Lunch and Learn before you jump into the marketing is when you can tap into your whys around things, it becomes very important to know that, and using this wheel to put areas of satisfaction that you can do small steps of impact to feel that you are making impact in your own life. And like examples here, what Jean said about asking other people, part of that satisfaction level means asking for feedback was one of the examples that was given, asking for help to increase levels of satisfaction. We're not superheroes here as leaders, right? We need help. And I just appreciate all of you so much for coming here today. And in a minute, Leanne will talk about the next workshops. But before we go there, I just want to say 2 things that are important here, just as a wrap up. Your commitment to yourself to be here today is not only a gift to me, but it's a gift to you for really committing and learning this tool. And I invite you to look at that wheel, and with that action you take each week, if you look at something and see if you can change or move it, that would be fantastic. And if you want to unpack your wheel and have a free coaching session, then I put my link in with my calendar in the chat. I work with leaders in many areas, including small business owners. And the program that I've developed, the Elevate Results Coaching Program, you have actually received the first session of that today as a group. And then the second session is really looking at your personal and seeing the alignment between those and working on high performance leadership techniques. So if you'd like to have a one-on-one with me and see what that program might be like further and possibly explore committing one-on-one to that, then my information is there for you. The other thing is that now that you have this clear ideas, when you come into the marketing, when you know your why, it's a lot easier to understand as you learn more about marketing, what's important. You can look at your wheel and say, okay, like if I had to make a priority in terms of marketing, separate of everything else, and look at your values, you can work on actions around that area. And as a marketing strategist who have been working with leaders in both areas, coaching and marketing in the marketing side for over 20 years, it is important to know your why first, because if you don't know your why, then where is the driver to move forward? It's like Alex talking about people first. It motivates him to see what he can do and how he can do it. And this is something that if you want to do if you feel there are people on your leadership team and you have a budget and you feel there's people that would benefit from coaching and doing this process, then they could sign up for a session. You can take that link there. So I just really want to support you in that way. And lastly, I know, Leanne, sorry, running over by 1 minute maybe, is that if you could just write in the comments what your biggest takeaway is from today. Like, what stands out for you the most from showing up here today, just in the comments, so everybody can see those. That would be great. And maybe while you're doing that, Leanne can make the announcement. And I just am I feel so much joy today. Thank you for your commitment to showing up and being part of this learning journey. It just means the world to me that you're committed to yourself to take this time for you. Thank you.
No, it is us who thanks you, Jen. That was really, really helpful. So thank you for helping us to fine tune our why, keep those wheels, keep working on those wheels. I found it really personally very helpful every time I do it with you. So we are just, this is the first of a 3-part series. Please keep the comments going for Jen as well in the chat. Thank you. And the second, next week, we will be led by Matt, otherwise known as Martha Elias Downey. I'm showing you her book here because she of course wrote this great book. We did a Supper Club book study on it. And Martha is a PhD, a theologian, an author and educator, and she's taught theology in university and ministry settings. And she'll be addressing the topic of marketing through the lenses of theology. And we'll continue to build on the why with an emphasis on storytelling. So be sure, again, to show up next week at the same time, bringing a pen and a paper. And Matt asks us to bring something organic, such as a vegetable or a fruit. So we'll figure that out next week. She wishes she could have been here today, but she's actually speaking at another conference. So we'll look forward to meeting Matt next week.